Hi, hello everybody, I'm Justin, this is Koopa, welcome to Koopa's Corner. Today we're going to talk about WrestleMania 41. Now, I've mentioned on the channel before that, I think the build to this WrestleMania has been pretty lackluster. I think that the match card is not nearly as good on paper as it could be or as it probably should be. But either way, this is what we got. And WrestleMania is just a few days away. So we're going to break down the matches that we are getting, and we're going to make our predictions for who's going to win and what those implications are going to be. So let's start off. Thankfully, we know which match is going to be on which day. They've announced WrestleMania Saturday, WrestleMania Sunday. So we're going to start with WrestleMania Saturday, April the 19th. And we're going to start off, I think, probably going to open the event, and that is going to be Jey Uso versus Gunther. I'm not huge on Jey Uso. I'm not. He's fun, but he's not that good. He can't cut a promo very well. His in-ring is very limited. And up until Jimmy got the shit beat out of him, this story was very one note. We've seen these guys face each other several times. Gunther's always come out on top. I think, so creatively, I think there was a bit of a misstep with having Jimmy get the shit beat out of him, and then Roman not getting himself involved. He's just detached from the bloodline now, just after all of these years of family above all. He just doesn't give a shit. This should have been a moment to sort of insert Roman into the feud. And it just doesn't really make a lot of sense why that didn't happen. Other than that, Gunther is leagues better than Jey Uso. Gunther is he's just a top performer. But he's had the title now for a while. And Jey Uso's popular, man. He doesn't have to be good, he's popular. And they're going to want a big shot of the whole, 50,000 plus people in the arena, doing the stupid hand thing. And so Jay's going to win. Jay's going to win, he won the Royal Rumble. It's WrestleMania. He's the babyface. He's going to win. He's going to hold up the title. He's going to do this with the crowd a bunch of times. And after that, TBD. Who knows how long he'll hold it for. But main event, Jey Uso is going to be a world champion after WrestleMania. Looking down the rest of the card, I think next up is the War Raiders versus the New Day. This match, I feel like it lacks any sort of heat whatsoever. The War Raiders are just a complete non-entity despite being the champions. The New Day had a lot of heat, a lot of momentum right after kicking Big E out of the group. And I feel like they've really failed to capitalize on it. They got booed out of arena after arena after arena for a few weeks, and they never really said anything. They never really followed up on this in a meaningful way. This, I think, might be the start of that. It won't have the kind of heat it would have had, immediately following Big E getting kicked out. Or if it was all part of, Big E's return and you set up a triple threat match here, that would have been much bigger. Obviously, if Big E's not cleared, Big E's not cleared. But, yeah, there hasn't really been any meaningful storytelling here. And I think the best that you can hope for is the New Day win. And then going forward, they capitalize on that momentum a little bit better. And hopefully they get some of that heat back, So that's going to be my prediction, the New Day. Then we have Rey Mysterio versus El Grande Americano. And the storytelling here has actually been a lot of fun. It's not a super serious story, and that's okay. It's coherent, it's logical, it's followed, itself all the way through. There haven't really been any missteps. And it's a lot of fun. I think, the best case scenario here is El Grande Americano wins and goes on a kind of a run. And we have this thing where him and Chad Gable are, never around at the same time, and we continue to pretend that they are not the same person. And, I think it could be a lot of fun, especially if you sort of have them, sort of feuding a little bit with each other. That would be hilarious. But I don't think that's going to happen at all. I think Rey Mysterio is a legend. He's the top luchador. This whole thing has been about disrespect to luchadors. Rey Mysterio is going to get his win. Not only is he going to get his win, he's going to unmask El Grande Americano. And unfortunately, it's probably going to be Chad Gable under there. They could unmask him, or have him slip out of the mask, and then as Rey's distracted by it, lock in the ankle lock or something like that and give Chad Gable a win. So it's always a possibility that they use that as like a cheap way to get Chad the win, but I just don't see it. I think it's WrestleMania. Rey is one of the ultimate good guys in WWE history. He's a legend. People love him. You give Rey a big W at WrestleMania, and you unmask El Grande Americano. Jade Cargill versus Naomi. This was not a match that anyone asked for. This is not a match anyone wanted. It should have been Jade Cargill versus Bianca Belair. Why Bianca is not involved in this, I don't know. But I think that's a huge, huge creative misstep. It sort of feels like they're trying to test the waters with Jade a little bit before they build up to that. But I think even if it's for the title down the road, it's not as big as it could have been here at WrestleMania. We are getting a triple threat for the women's title. We'll talk about that later. But this could have been a triple threat instead. And at least that would have made sense logically, like from a storytelling perspective. But Bianca's just off doing other things. She just moved on from this, completely gone. I don't think Naomi is nearly as big of a star as Bianca is. She's not nearly as talented in the ring as Bianca is. She's not bad. I'm not knocking Naomi, but I mean, Bianca is just a whole level above. That being said, they spent the year tagging as a way to get Jade some experience, to get her some, confidence, to sort of train her a little bit, increase her ability a little bit. They feel like she's ready. They're giving her a singles match now. So this is a coronation for Jade Cargill. There's no reality where Naomi walks out of here the victor. And that's just the bottom line. Another match, LA Knight, versus Jacob Fatu, the Samoan werewolf. And LA Knight against the good guy. He just won the title back from Shinsuke Nakamura. It's very, very much in the infancy of this reign. But to be fair, he had a decent reign with the U.S. Championship before Shinsuke took it. So LA Knight had a nice long reign. Shinsuke took it for a couple months, did nothing with it. LA Knight took it back. And there's a reality where Solo could cost Jacob Fatu. LA Knight could retain. Setting up something between Jacob and Solo down the road. This doesn't feel like the time or the place for that, to be honest, in my opinion. WrestleMania is less of an event with cliffhangers. It happens, but we get more conclusions here than cliffhangers. It's like the season finale, right? This is it. So I think that this is similar to the Jade Cargill and Naomi match in that it is very much a coronation, right? This WrestleMania feels like there are a few matches where it's about time that we elevate and crown some new stars. Jacob Fatu is one of those stars. He's going to win the United States Championship, his first title in WWE. Big win on the grandest stage of them all. So yeah, this is definitely a coronation moment. Jacob Fatu wins, and that's that. All right. A couple more matches on Saturday. It's going to be the Women's Championship match with your Royal Rumble winner, Charlotte Flair, versus Tiffany Stratton, current champion. This one is interesting. This one, to me, might be the hardest to predict. Um, the storytelling was fine. It was fine. I mean, Charlotte Flair is the veteran. She's coming in. She's coming for a return. She's coming to reclaim her throne. And Tiffany Stratton is the young rookie who's, she's either going to hang or she's not. What has given this match a lot of intrigue is a couple of times where they've had some wild promos that have gone off script, and everyone on the internet knows about them. And, we can take it for a grain of salt. Those could just be rumors. But those promos did feel a little bit wild. And so I don't have a hard time believing that. Whether they were off script or not off script, or that was the script the whole time, those promos were still a little bit wild, still had that chaotic energy to them. And I think that goes a long way here in actually giving this match some heat, making people anticipate it a little bit. Because I think in the beginning, and maybe that's just because the Royal Rumble is so far away from WrestleMania, but in the beginning, it just sort of felt like they were spinning their wheels. There wasn't much to this. Tiffany Stratton should win, because again, this is a coronation moment. You have a young, upcoming star like Tiffany Stratton going up against basically a living legend in Charlotte Flair. So a big win here would really make Tiffany Stratton, and a loss here would really hurt her, right? Whereas a loss for Charlotte really does nothing. That being said, it's Charlotte Flair, and this is the WWE. Can you really ever bet against Charlotte Flair? Especially because for a vast majority of the build, she has looked and felt like a bigger star than Tiffany Stratton. And it's unfortunate, but yeah, during some of those promos, she was the clear winner. Like, she just came across as, a much higher level star. And that's, I think, part of what makes this so hard. Because you want to vote Tiffany Stratton, or you want to predict Tiffany Stratton, because that's the way it should go. But if the build to this WrestleMania has taught us anything, if the match card to this WrestleMania has taught us anything, you don't always get things the way they should be. Therefore, my final prediction is Charlotte Flair. I don't like it. I don't want it. But I think that's what's going to happen. I will gladly be wrong in this match. If Tiffany Stratton wins, I will gladly be wrong. I would much prefer that. I don't see it. I just don't think it's going to happen. And then the main event for WrestleMania Saturday. Right, it's the triple threat match. Roman Reigns versus CM Punk versus Seth freaking Rollins. Paul Heyman is going to be in CM Punk's corner. This might be the match that they've done the best storytelling for. This might be the match they've done the best building for. Oh boy. That doesn't mean they did a good job with it. I think any combination of Roman, Punk, and Rollins would be bigger as a one-on-one match. Punk and Rollins sort of had a bit of a feud going that they culminated on Raw on Netflix, the debut of Raw on Netflix. And then they just sort of inserted Roman here because The Rock disappeared, and we're not getting The Rock versus Roman like we should be. We're not having Roman involved with anyone in the bloodline, right? He's not involved. There's no blood. He hasn't been essentially affiliated with the bloodline since the Royal Rumble. We could be getting a one-on-one match with Solo Sikoa with some sort of, lumberjack stipulation or something like that, a tribal combat, bringing back, some legends. We could be getting a number of things. We're not. We're getting this. I can genuinely feel the heat between all three of these guys. They did a good job of making it feel like an important match. I just don't know that it made sense to get to this point, I also think the favor was incredibly anticlimactic, right? Punk joins the bloodline, at least for one match, for War Games. And he helps Roman win. He helps the OG bloodline win. But by joining the match, Paul Heyman owes him a favor. And they left that a mystery for months. Months. And it wasn't until very recently that he's like, oh yeah, the favor is you're going to be in my corner. It wasn't cashing in to get a match versus Roman because he knows that whatever match Roman is in will be the main event. That would have made sense. Not just join him in his corner. I'm sure post WrestleMania, whatever story they go with this, it's going to be entertaining. I'm sure this match is going to be entertaining. I just think on paper there were bigger and better things for all three of these competitors to do. That being said, Punk probably needs this win the least. He's getting essentially what he wanted, or at least in the eyes of the fans, what he wanted, right? The main event. He's finally getting his main event. And Paul Heyman joining him almost guarantees he loses. Paul Heyman is going to screw him some way, whether it's by screwing him for Roman or screwing him for Rollins. Roman probably doesn't need this win either. Rollins probably needs it the most, especially if Paul Heyman ultimately sides with Rollins coming out of this. That would be a huge twist. That would get people talking. But Roman doesn't lose at WrestleMania. He's main evented how many WrestleManias? He lost, obviously, last year to Cody. But, I mean, he's even beaten The Undertaker. You know, he's one of two people in history that can say they've beaten The Undertaker at WrestleMania. Roman is a much bigger star than Rollins, a much bigger star than Punk. And, you know, it's Roman, The Rock, Austin, Cena, and Hogan are, like, on a level of their own, right? Those are the elite. Those are the faces of that generation. Guys like Punk and guys like Rollins, they're big. They're big stars. They're big names. They're just not Roman Reigns big. That's all. So who wins, right? There's something to be said about all three of them winning. We've talked about a little bit how, you know, much each guy needs that win, but who actually gets the win here, right? I'm ruling out Punk. I genuinely think he needs it the least. To me, it's between Rollins and Reigns a little bit more seriously. And I think it's Reigns. Roman is going to win. He's going to move on. And he's going to essentially, I think, feud with Paul Heyman in a way, right? Him and Punk might keep going forward. But I think he's going to win. And it's going to piss him off that Heyman chose to go with Punk here. So I think there's more story to be told going forward. And that's if Reigns doesn't disappear for a few months afterwards. It's Roman Reigns at WrestleMania. It's the same reason I picked Charlotte Flair. Roman he's the top guy, man. He's walking out of this with the W. And they're not going to have him lose after losing last year as well, right? And that's WrestleMania Saturday, right? That in and of itself a full match card. But we're not done yet, guys. There's a whole nother night. WrestleMania Sunday, Easter Sunday, April 20th. So, let's just jump right into it. Let's just do them both back to back, right together. I don't think we should need to make two separate videos for this. I think that we do them all together here. And so I think that night is going to open with the match of for the Women's Championship. And that is going to be Rhea Ripley versus Io Sky versus Bianca Belair. They've told a decent story here, but there have been some creative missteps. Absolutely, there have been some creative missteps. First and foremost, Bianca being involved here. Again, instead of being involved with Jade, mind-blowing. There was no need for it. There was absolutely, no one was asking for it. It wasn't needed. I don't think that it was really at all, there was no point to it. If you're going to get Bianca versus Rhea, it's much bigger as a one-on-one match than having Io in there, right? They were sort of the two women of their generation, right? There was like there was like the Divas eras with the Bellas and AJ Lee and Natalia and just a whole bunch of women. And then you sort of get your Paige and Emma, who kick off the women's, evolution. Then you have your 4 horsewomen. And then it's Rhea and Bianca, right? These are the next 2, and they sort of became the face of that next generation. And they've been sort of on a, pretty equal rise up to the top. They've been kept separate on separate brands, right? And, having a one-on-one match would have been huge. Again, this triple threat, I think, is worse than a one-on-one match if it was Rhea and Io, or if it was Bianca and Io either. But I think the money match is Bianca and Rhea. And I don't think that this was the time or the place. They didn't build that story properly. Bianca had a different story she should have been involved with. That is what it is. This is the story that we got. This is the match that we're getting. This starts off with Liv Morgan and Io Sky qualifying or attempting to qualify for the Elimination Chamber. Rhea puts her hands on Liv, causes the disqualification. Rhea, out of the goodness of her heart, gives Io a championship opportunity. Let me make it up to you. You didn't qualify because I got involved. Let me make it up to you. Elimination Chamber happens. Bianca Belair wins it. The next night on Raw, it's Io and Rhea for the title. Bianca Belair comes out. Bianca Belair is ringside. Bianca Belair puts her hands on Rhea during that match, and there's not a disqualification. That she should have been disqualified, and Rhea should have retained. Somebody on the outside putting their hands on somebody on the inside is a disqualification. That is how it works in the WWE. They ignored that. And that hasn't even been part of the storyline ever since. But that is sort of the logical and creative misstep that just makes this baffling. Right? And that's a huge thing to overlook. And then, Rhea's upset. She's upset that she lost her title. She's upset that Bianca distracted her. She should have been upset that there wasn't a disqualification. Anyway, we finally get to another rematch where Bianca Belair is the special guest referee, and she ends up throwing the match out, calling for a double disqualification. Again, disqualifications here everywhere but when Rhea's title switched hands. There was a contract signing. Rhea put her name on the contract even though she wasn't supposed to. A lot of people got pissy about that. They started saying she was whining and that she was using her privilege, and a lot of people didn't like that. We've seen that in the WWE before. No one thinks that's legally binding, man. It was about a statement and about inserting yourself in the match and trying to make a triple threat match happen, and it worked. We get another contract signing, this time as a triple threat. So it was all part of the story. I think this match without Rhea is significantly worse, significantly less star power, and significantly further down the card. Rhea needed to be in this. Rhea is the biggest star of these 3, and it is what it is. So from a storytelling perspective, I've seen a lot of hate directed at Rhea, and a lot of pro Bianca. Then again, Bianca got booed by the live audience. So, what do people on the internet know? As somebody on the internet, right? It's a lot for me to say. But, it's created this really interesting dynamic. So I think this match was worth talking about a little bit. That being said, we're going to get to our prediction now. I think it's going to be Bianca Belair. She has been the tried and true babyface throughout this storytelling for this match, at least from WWE's perspective, right? They've tried to present her that way, whether she or not she's always been received that way is a different conversation. She wins the title, and I think ultimately this is done in order to get a one-on-one match with Jade. Maybe SummerSlam. Somewhere down the road. Maybe SummerSlam. And ultimately, I don't know if Bianca was going to have been in on it, if she was going to have helped Naomi. But she's going to win the title, and then Jade's going to come after her in a few months. Jade will win. Jade will be win the championship and be crowned champion for the first time in the WWE, probably around SummerSlam. That's my guess. That's my prediction for this. I don't think Rhea's going to take it back immediately, having just lost it to Io. I don't think Io retains. But it'll be a fun match. It'll be a good match. And hopefully we can follow up in some meaningful way with Rhea and with Io after this and keep them both in the spotlight. That's going to be the important thing. Next up is Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez versus Bayley and Lyra Valkyria. Right, and I have a lot to say about this match as well. I think this match is a shit show. Liv Morgan is coming off of the hottest year of her career. Right, she was Superstar of the Year, hands down, easily, in 2024 for WWE. The whole Bianca, Rhea, Io storyline started, as I mentioned, when Rhea attacked Liv and cost Io via disqualification. That match could have been a fatal four-way. If we're going to go with a random multi-man match, that could have been a fatal four-way, including Liv. And that would have been at least up to her level in star power, right? She's been shunted down to tag duty. I just think that this is beneath Liv Morgan at this point. Raquel Rodriguez benefits from hanging around Liv. Liv is drugged down a lot by hanging out with Raquel Rodriguez. But at least they're a coherent team. At least they've been together. The challengers, Bayley and Lyra Valkyria, were feuding kind of, sort of, at least had a match for the Women's Intercontinental Championship just a few weeks before they teamed up. And they're not really partners. They're sort of odd bedfellows. But Lyra Valkyria should be defending her Women's Intercontinental Championship instead of being in this tag match. Bayley is too big of a star to be left off the card. Liv Morgan is too big of a star to be left off the card. This match feels like it was designed just to get people involved and get them that WrestleMania payday. It feels like the stakes are low. It almost doesn't matter who wins. The tag titles mean nothing. And Lyra Valkyria should be going on to defend her Intercontinental Championship after this. So I think for that reason, I'm going to say Liv and Raquel retain. Not that there's much to lose, but they have more to lose by losing here than Lyra Valkyria and Bayley. Maybe Bayley turns heel. Maybe Bayley, calls her shot for that Intercontinental Championship and it turns into a more proper feud with the two of them. TBD, we'll see. But that feels very much like a better option. Fatal four-way for the Intercontinental Championship. Braun Breaker versus Penta versus Finn Balor versus Dirty Dom. This match will be fun. All four competitors here are super athletic. There's going to be some fast-paced action. It's going to be a really fun match. I'm looking forward to this one. Despite, to be honest, I don't particularly love these big multi-man matches that are just designed to get as many people shoot in as possible at the expense of storytelling. Not always a fan, but it works here. It does. It works here. I think we're going to have a situation where Dirty Dom steals the win. Maybe Finn is out brawling with Braun or with Penta out of the ring. Dirty Dom climbs in, gets a pin, and then we get some heat going forward between Dom and Finn, and this is the implosion of the Judgment Day, right? Sure, Dom could always pin Finn, and then Finn just blows up at him, and it's a more immediate breakup. But I think there's something to be said by having him steal a win. If Braun spears Penta and then dives at Finn, and Braun and Finn are outside brawling, and Dom slides in and pins Penta. There's something to be said, where Finn gets pissed, how could you take that victory from me? And Dom's like, you were nowhere near the ring. Like, you were going to get your ass whooped. Like, I brought it to the Judgment Day. I did this for us. And he's almost justified in winning. And I think they drag that complete meltdown of the Judgment Day. They drag it out a little bit. I think there's some story to be told there. So I think that's the best option. In my opinion, that's what I kind of want to see happen too. I think it's the most interesting option. So I'm predicting Dirty Dom. All right, up next, Damien Priest versus Drew McIntyre in a street fight. This feud feels like it's not really a feud, but they have history going all the way back to last year's WrestleMania. I think they were trying to up the intensity by making it a street fight. Hopefully they deliver, but this feels very cut and dry. Drew McIntyre is a much, much bigger star than Damien Priest. Drew McIntyre had Feud of the Year with CM Punk last year, and since then has done absolutely nothing of value. This is your opportunity to put Drew McIntyre back on track. Drew McIntyre needs to be a more relevant name in the main event scene, in the title picture. He starts here. Damien Priest, despite them attempting to push him as a big single superstar, just isn't that big. Not that big of a name at all. He was better off in the Judgment Day. And give it to Drew. Let's move on. All right, AJ Styles versus Logan Paul. The storytelling here has actually been decent, right? AJ Styles letting Karrion Kross sort of manipulate him a little bit, influence him a little bit. Logan Paul feels a bit like an afterthought. And on Monday Night Raw, AJ Styles versus Karrion Kross. Karrion got in a huge amount of offense. He looked great against AJ Styles, which, what is one of AJ's strong suits, right? He can make anyone look great. And here he's going to make Logan Paul look great. And Logan Paul is going to come out with the W, and he's going to look like $1 million against a guy like AJ Styles. And I think that's the whole point. And then we finally have our championship match. John Cena versus Cody Rhodes. Cody has held the title since last year's WrestleMania, when he took it from our tribal chief. And, in a match that, quite frankly, we shouldn't have gotten. We should have had our tribal chief, Roman Reigns, versus The Rock in the Ultimate Dream match. But we didn't get it because of the Cody Crybabies. And then Cody won the title. He's held on to it ever since. This year, we're not getting our tribal chief, Roman Reigns, versus The Rock either, because The Rock was involved with Cody still. The Rock is the reason John Cena turned heel. John Cena sold his soul to The Rock. Then The Rock disappeared. And John Cena's heel turn, while good, hasn't been as impactful as it should have been, given the reason why he turned heel. He didn't just turn heel out of the blue. He sold his soul to The Rock. And then The Rock disappeared. It's really hurt this match. This might still be the biggest match of the weekend. This might still be the most anticipated match of the weekend. But The Rock's absence absolutely hurt this match. That being said, man, it's been a year. Take the damn title off of Cody. There's nothing interesting about him retaining here. Heel John Cena needs to win the title. And he needs to break the record, number 17. That'd be huge. There's no reason that John Cena turned heel to not win the title. Right? This is John's match to lose. This is about John Cena, and Cody is just sort of a supporting character in this story. It would have been a much more interesting story if Cody had sold his soul to The Rock, but that didn't happen. And because that didn't happen, I don't think Cody has a chance. Cena needs to win. Cena should win. Cena's going to win. And there we go. We made it through WrestleMania Sunday as well. And that's the match card, guys. There's a good handful of matches. It's going to be an exciting event. It's a massive, massive event, WrestleMania. Biggest event of the year. As lackluster as the build has been, as much as these matches could have and should have been bigger, the WWE knows we're going to watch either way. And they're not wrong. We're going to. I'm going to. I can't speak for you, but I'm going to. And I'm very, very excited for it. So we'll see you guys next week when we have our post-show breakdown. We talk about the results. We recap them a little bit. We talk about the ramifications and what it's going to be meaning going forward. But until then, guys, enjoy WrestleMania. Let me know in the comments which match are you most excited for in spite of the build to it, right? That's what I want to know. There's so many good options, and hopefully the performers deliver in a way that we all know that they can, and they overcome sort of the not bad but sort of lackluster storytelling that got us here. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you in the next one.